A Fox News alert and a stunning loss in the racing world. NASCAR legend Kyle Busch dead at the age of 41 after a bout with a mystery illness. A former teammate is here to honor Busch's legacy and give us his insight.
Plus, Democrats have released their 2024 election report, detailing the myriad of failures that led to a second Trump victory. We'll dive into the problem that doomed Kamala Harris and down ballot Dems.
And we are honoring the fallen as Memorial Day weekend begins. Veterans Affairs Secretary Doug Collins is here to honor the sacrifice of those who gave their lives for our freedom and explain why this weekend is so significant. You're watching Fox and Friends First here on a Friday morning. I'm Todd Pyro.
And I'm Carly Shimkus, and as you can see, Todd and I are wearing poppies today in honor of National Poppy Day, which takes place the Friday before Memorial Day. We wear the symbol to honor the fallen as well as support the living heroes among us who have served our country so bravely.
And we thank all who gave their lives defending our freedom and those who wear the uniform today to protect and serve our nation. Obviously, there is a difference between Veterans and Memorial Day today, and this weekend we take time to honor those who gave their lives so that we could do what we do today and live in this amazing country. With that, we turn now to the death of NASCAR driver Kyle Busch. Chanley Painter here with what we know this morning and some of the tributes from his fellow drivers.
Yeah, hey guys, so the motorsports world shaken by this sudden loss. 41-year-old NASCAR icon Kyle Busch was battling a severe illness before his death, according to his family, but not much more is known. Less than 2 weeks ago, the legendary driver was dealing with a sinus issue during a race and had to radio for medical. He told reporters after the race that he had a substantial cough. It's unclear if that illness is related to his hospitalization. NASCAR announced Busch's shocking death yesterday, hours after his family said he had been hospitalized, and confirmed he was undergoing treatment and would not compete in any of his scheduled activities this weekend at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Now, tributes are pouring in for the two-time NASCAR champion Dale Earnhardt Jr., saying, quote, "Kyle was one of the greatest drivers in NASCAR history. No one can deny that. But he was also a father, a husband, brother, son, and a friend to many. My heart is broken for the Busch family. I will never be able to make sense of this loss, but I am thankful that he had found a way to become friends." Denny Hallman said this, quote, "Absolutely cannot comprehend this news. We just need to think of his family during this time. We love you, KB." And Kevin Harvick with this, quote, "What people may not realize is how much that rivalry drove us both. Kyle made me better because you had to be at your absolute best to beat him. Over time, that fierce competition turned into mutual respect." Also, Busch's family releasing this statement on his tragic passing, remembering the husband and father of 2 children as a future Hall of Famer, a rare talent who was fierce and passionate. And just last Friday, Busch gave his final post-race interview after his second win of the season in the Craftsman Truck Series. Watch.
Why do these moments never get old, Kyle?
Because you never know when the last one is, you know. So I know all too well, unfortunately, with the Cup stuff. But, you know, here with the truck stuff right now is it's awesome just to be a part of Spire Motorsports.
Busch's official cause of death has not yet been released, guys. Back to you.
You never know when the last one is.
Yeah.
Chanley Painter live for us. Chanley, thank you. Let's bring in NASCAR driver Casey Mears, who was teammates with Kyle Busch. Casey, thank you so much for joining us today. The loss of an absolute giant, and at just 41 years old, how are you processing the news of the death of Kyle Busch?
Oh, I don't think anybody is really processing it very well. I mean, I can't believe that this even happened. It's obviously very sudden, and I think by all the other comments that you guys just read earlier by all the other drivers and competitors in the sport, no doubt Kyle was a once in a generation competitor. I mean, he had that next level talent that I think as a competitor, nobody really wanted to admit, but he had something special, something that was just a little bit better than everybody else. And what he was able to compete and do on the racetrack was just unbelievable. And in recent years, with starting a family, married to Samantha, having Brexton and Lennox, as a casual friend and a teammate, to see him grow as a father and a husband was really impressive. And I think his success on the track was only matched with his success as a family member and as a father and as a husband. So super unexpected. I really don't know exactly what to say, but definitely a huge loss for the racing community and for all the friends and family that held Kyle close, and just a devastating loss.
Again, we're so sorry on the loss of your friend and your teammate. How had your relationship with Kyle evolved over the years?
Well, I mean, when Kyle came in, he was just such a ferocious competitor. I think that, he was, so aggressive and could be very, he was there to take it. He was there to take the win, and he wasn't really there to make a whole lot of friends doing it. And, so as a competitor, I think, early on it was, hard to enjoy or, really even like Kyle, because he was there to beat you. And, but over the years, obviously established himself as one of the winningest drivers in NASCAR. Everybody had a mutual respect for his talent and everything that he accomplished. And as I said, as he got older, as he got married, as he started understanding, the other sides of life, and enjoying that, we really started to become friends. Every time they come out to Phoenix, my wife, Trish, and I would, have dinner with Samantha and Kyle, go hiking. We casually would meet each other, in places like Cabo. We loved to go out to the sand dunes from time to time and play in our sand cars, something that he loved to do growing up in Vegas, being close to the desert. So just really evolved into a friendship. And, I just, right now it doesn't even seem real. I mean, the fact that I'm on this interview right now talking about this topic just does not even seem real. It hasn't truly soaken in. And, it's just an unbelievable loss for the community and a guy that's gone way too soon.
No doubt. We heard, Casey, about the reports that he was dealing with a sinus issue less than 2 weeks before his death. He requested medical attention at Watkins Glen on May 10th, and there are reports that he became unconscious while in a racing simulator on Wednesday. As a driver yourself, what goes through your mind about what he might have been going through when you hear something like that?
Man, I can't really pretend to be in that situation because I really don't know, the details. I know about what you guys know at this point. But I do know from a racer standpoint, from a man standpoint, sometimes, we feel like we're feeling a little bit off. We're going to make it to that next race. We're going to do our job the next weekend, and I don't want to pretend to assume anything in this scenario, but like I said, he was a strong competitor, worked hard at his job, had massive goals. They were just starting to run well again, over at RCR and had some tailwind, and, I'm sure he was excited about that and wanting to do the best job he possibly can. But again, I really don't understand. I watched it just like you guys did on, the comments at Watkins Glen, and then got the news, just like everybody else did. So, it's really hard to assume exactly what he was feeling and, what he was going through. But I knew that he had a ton of drive and that he'd want to do anything he could do to be in that race car.
And that's such an important point that you made, Casey. As men, I think we're kind of told you power through things, and especially in the world that you all live in. I mean, these races are not easy on the body, and you're so trained to just power through any inconvenience, any discomfort that you feel in order to win a race. And I think it is so important that you made that point. Obviously, a lot of unanswered questions this morning that hopefully will get answered in time. But before we let you go, Casey, how would you ultimately characterize his impact on the racing world? Because there have been a lot of amazing racers that have all shaped the sport, but how would you characterize his specific impact?
Well, I would say really it's immeasurable. I mean, what he's accomplished in the sport is done by nobody else. Kyle's won so many races. I mean, there was a stretch there, for a handful of years where if Kyle didn't win a Busch race or a Cup race or one of the truck races throughout the weekend, something was wrong, because he was constantly winning races. And, I think at the end of the day, he was just a tremendous competitor. You absolutely knew that he was going to leave 110% on the table at all times. And, just one of the best that's ever been in a race car. And the biggest thing is that he's just become such an amazing dad, father, husband, brother. I'm just thinking about everybody in the family, Tom and Gay as mom and dad, and Kurt, his brother, obviously Samantha and the kids. You know, he was a true champion, you know, at home as a family man as well.
Yeah.
An incredible racer, father, husband, and friend. Casey, we are so sorry for your personal loss and the loss of a real racing legend for all fans and people within the community. Casey Mears, thank you so much for joining us this morning to memorialize your friend.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox 1.